In last week's video, we discussed 3 ways for authors to improve their writing. Since there are so many opportunities to learn, I thought in this video we could delve into 3 more ways to improve your work. Number 1, implement show, not tell. One very important thing that authors can do to make their writing more immersive and interesting to readers is to show, not tell. Now, if you're an author who's been writing for any amount of time, no doubt you've probably heard this phrase a million times. But do you really know what it means? The explanation is easy. The execution, though, is a little bit more of a complicated fix. So what is it? It's just what it says. When authors tell the audience what's going on through exposition rather than showing them through sensory details. Telling your reader everything that is happening in the story is boring. Showing them, however, drops the reader into the story along with the characters where they can experience the heart-pounding thrills or the breathtaking romances. Let's look at an example of showing versus telling. Jane walked through the forest. It was fall and she was cold. Now this is a very short example, but if you had to guess, is this showing or telling? If you said telling, you would be right, because the author told the reader that Jane was walking through a forest, that it was fall, and that she was cold. As a listener, did the sentence make you want to know more about Jane? Maybe not so much. So now let's see the same sentence, but let's show instead of tell. The gauzy silver rays of the moon splashed across the barren, leafless treetops and dappled the forest path that wound in front of her. Long fallen leaves and pebbles crunched beneath her feet. She pulled her coat tighter with trembling fingers as curly wisps of breath danced in front of her face before dissolving into the inky night. In this example, rather than telling, the reader is shown the scene through sensory stimuli. The gauzy silver rays of the moon show us that it is nighttime. The long fallen crunchy leaves show us the season, and clutching the coat tighter and the curly wisps of breath show us that she is cold. The best part is, we never had to tell the reader anything because the sensory details helped them draw the correct conclusions. It drew them into the scene where the first example didn't. Telling is faster for an author, but it's also lazy. Showing is much more work because it requires creative detailing. As you write your stories, always pay close attention and ask yourself this question. Did I set the scene by telling the readers the story, or did I show them the story using immersive details that allows the reader to slip into the scene and experience it in a fuller way? Number 2, eliminate repetition. There are so many things about novels that can quickly become an annoyance to readers. Since reading is a subjective pastime, there are a million things that can be annoying, so it's impossible to pinpoint them all. What is annoying to one reader probably doesn't bother another. When I write, I tend to just get the story down before I begin fine-tuning. Once you've started your editing processes, though, this is when you should start watching for all those pesky little repetitions. As a side, as authors, we can be blind to our own annoying repetitions, so this is where beta readers come in very handy. To give you an idea of what I mean by repetitions, I'll give you a couple of the pet peeves that annoy me as a reader. Eye rolling. I don't know what it is about authors and eye rolling, but I swear, if a character rolls their eyes one time in a book, they'll do it 20 times. Eye rolling is probably one of the biggest ways to make me cringe in the books that I read. I may have made the mistake in my earlier novels, but for sure it's something I avoid now. And I get why authors do it. An eye roll is a way to show certain emotions like sarcasm, disbelief, or even frustration. But if someone rolls their eyes multiple times in every chapter, you may need to find a creative and new way of expression. Next, laughter and smiling. I know that makes me sound like a total bore, but stick with me here. I'm just like most everyone else. I enjoy a good laugh. But what I don't enjoy is when characters constantly laugh and smile. And what makes constant laughter and smiling even more annoying? When the characters laugh about things that aren't even funny. I find this a lot, especially in indie author books. And I don't mean that as a slam because I'm one of you. But I've noticed that many times characters laugh and smile in places that don't seem appropriate. As I've thought through this, to me, it seems like the author maybe doesn't know how to have their characters react to a situation, so they use laughter and smiling as a knee jerk. Now, I get that we all have different senses of humor. What's funny to me may be crickets for you. I get that. But for the love of all that's holy, please make sure that what your characters are laughing about is actually funny on some level. If not, find another way to give them a reaction to the scene. Number 3, eliminate unnecessary glue words. Glue words, or sticky words as they're sometimes called, are important to your writing because when used properly, they hold your sentences together and make them flow. Without proper glue words, your writing would be stiff and unpleasant. But as with anything in life, too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. When your writing contains too many glue words, it can negatively affect readability, making your work clunky and amateur sounding. Now that we know what it is, how do you identify those in your manuscript? Here's a small list of common glue words. That, really, very, although, as long as, sort of, should, and since. Basically, glue words are words that you could eliminate from your sentence and it would still make sense. Again, I'm not saying to completely avoid these words because they are necessary when used in the correct proportions. So our goal as authors is to not overuse them. Let's look at an example and try to break it down. There is a lake out in the middle of the woods where locals go to get away from the tourists who come to take over all the villages, restaurants, and shops in the summer. Okay, the sentence gives you plenty of information, but it comes across as clumsy, don't you think? Now, let's see if we can rewrite the sentence to make it more concise. Hidden in the woods is sparkling Lake Liesel, a magical place where locals can slip away from the tourists to enjoy their own summer festivities. This was just a quick example off the top of my head, but it reads much better, I think. So how do you identify the glue words in your own work? Unfortunately, there's not a quick fix. It's a time-consuming process of studying every sentence in your manuscript and learning how to identify the unnecessary words that you can remove, yet still retain the integrity of your sentences. According to Pro Writing Aid, a writing software that helped me learn so much about cleaning up my own work, glue words should be no more than 40% of your sentence. All of these suggestions, while they can be time-consuming to learn and implement, are guaranteed to transform your writing. Let me know in the comments if you recognize any of these things in your writing and if you plan to tackle any of it as a way to improve. Finally, if you found anything useful in this video, go ahead and subscribe to my channel to be notified of future videos. Also, if you could like the video, that helps other authors to discover my content. Thanks, and we'll talk to you next time.